Welcome back to the Chatters Box. We are once again up in Cooperstown, New York at the Cardinals Fantasy Camp, and today I am joined by one of the most unique members of the St. Louis Cardinals family in Mitch Harris. And Mitch, we are going to get into your story of why you're so unique, but thank you so much for stepping in the Chatters Box.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure.
Are you enjoying Fantasy Camp?
These are a blast. My body's hurting, but these are a blast.
So if you hear behind us, if you listen to the Larry Walker one, we kind of talked about it, but if you hear a game or yelling or screaming in the background, we are at Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, New York. We are here for the Cardinals Fantasy Camp. We've been here since, 4 days ago. Yeah. Mitch, me and you played golf together. Got to do a really unique dining and had drinks and dining
awesome.
in the Plaque Hall last night. Had a kind of our three Hall of Famers. I don't even know what you would call it. It wasn't a Q&A. It was more of just a talking baseball with the three Hall of Famers last night in the theater of the Baseball Hall of Fame. We're playing games here. Tonight we got an event at the Farmers Museum, and then we finish out here on Sunday and then head back. Hopefully everybody's intact. Right. I've seen a calf blow. I've seen a hamstring. I've seen an ankle turned. I've seen a quad. I've seen
a fractured thumb.
We did have a fractured thumb. Ray Langford has a tweaked ham. So today's the day, because today's the second day of games that it really starts to go. But we're having a blast here. Me and you have gotten to know each other a little bit more through playing golf and just this experience. But appreciate you being here and want to dive in. Such a unique story. And you've really been having a lot of fun in the Hall of Fame and talking to a lot of the Hall of Fame curators and people that run it about wanting to see something specific. And so let's dive into that. But you are so unique because not only did you play Major League Baseball, but you served in the United States Navy prior to that, which is just mind-blowing. Like, there's guys that did it back in the day, right? I mean, baseball players that we hear about, Stan Musial and all those guys that had to leave to go, be in the service and come back. But your road was so unique. Can you kind of walk us through your path and how you got here?
Yeah, I joke and tell people I just took the scenic route. Having been to over 30 countries before I was 26. No, it was awesome. Going to the Naval Academy. Growing up, baseball was what any kid that played baseball growing up wanted to be, was a big leaguer. And then the opportunity presented itself to be able to go to the Naval Academy, and who can turn that down? And didn't really know much about it, honestly.
So how did that when you say presented itself?
Yeah, so long story short, I was throwing a bullpen in high school in my senior year, and the head baseball coach was the assistant football coach at our high school. We had a good football team. And the defensive coordinator came by the baseball field to pick up the assistant football coach, again, the head baseball coach, and walk over to football practice. And saw me throwing a bullpen and just started asking, hey, what's this guy's deal? Looked pretty good. Nothing spectacular, but, saw good baseball when he saw it. And so, long story short, started talking to the coach and realized, hey, this is a just great athlete, good, academics. And he was saying, well, that's basically what the academy needs. They can't get, high-end D1 guys, and they've got to kind of get that middle tier that also can get by with the academics. And so 2 weeks later, I was on a visit, realized that they were going to pay me to go there and play baseball. And I was in shock. I don't think it really set in what it meant to serve yet. But, man, it was really neat. The first year was brutal. I lost 20 pounds, gained it back my sophomore year, and then really had an understanding of what it meant to serve and what the purpose of the Naval Academy was. And, man, I loved it, being able to play and to honor my grandfathers who were both in World War II, one in the Army, one in the Navy. And so that was exciting. But then, getting drafted by the Braves my junior year and basically just saying, hey, unless you offer something I just can't say no to, I want to stay and graduate, get my commission and see what happens. And fortunately enough, the Cardinals took me in 13th round in 2008. And the rest is kind of history. But, man, it was an absolute blast experience that I wouldn't change it for the world. I would love to have played longer and get to say I played with some of you guys, because I think some of us would have played around the same time. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I got to see a lot of things, experience a lot of things, develop who I am because of all this, and yet still get to play, even if it was for a cup of coffee. It was an absolute blast.
So was your path, in high school, was service something you were wanting to go into, or were you just open to anywhere?
I was open to anywhere.
Yeah.
No one in my family was military other than my grandfathers. Whose grandfathers worked at that time.
Yeah.
And so the military was not something I was going after. Matter of fact, I had gone on a visit to Davidson College in North Carolina, where I was going to high school at the time, and things just didn't go right for me there. And within a couple of weeks, the Naval Academy said, "Hey, we've got a spot for you. If you'll come, we'll have you." And man, it was cool to be able to do that. But yeah, it was definitely not something that I was gung ho or, "Hey, this is what I want to do." And so it was kind of a learning experience as I was going through it. But man, once I got there and realized what it meant and how prestigious it was, man, it was something I really take pride in.
So, what was a day like there?
Your freshman year, basically just yelling and running all day. Somebody was yelling at you all day. You weren't even called a freshman. You were called a plebe. You were not allowed to walk in the hall. You had to do what we called chopping, which is essentially high knees. Everything was in a square, so you were down the middle of the hallway. When you got to the corner to turn down the other hallway, you had to square your corners. When you ate, you had to square your meals, meaning you had to pick up your food, pull it straight up and then to your mouth, and back out, back down. You could not do anything without somebody else's permission. And the whole goal of that first year was essentially just to break you mentally, physically, emotionally. They wanted to see who could really get through it and really start kind of building you from the ground up. And the physical part, like I said, I lost 20 pounds my freshman year. Not like I was in bad shape. I think I came in at 215, something like that. And by the end of that first year, I was at 195. But with like no body fat. And then what was nice about that was having gotten through that and realizing that you can't just punch one of these guys in the face that's wanting to just make you run sprints or push-ups or whatever, and then learning that discipline and understanding that, hey, getting up at 5 a.m. to go run whatever amount of miles they say you're going to that day instilled kind of a drive in you, work ethic in you that now anything that I face, it was kind of like, all right, no big deal. Let's do it. And so when you get through it and look back, you realize, all right, it's the details in that really helped, later on after that first year.
But on top of that, there's schooling.
Oh yeah. I mean,
there's baseball practice.
Yeah. So a standard day is getting up. As a freshman, it was getting up early, usually going for a run, something along those lines, some type of physical training, coming back, showering, going to breakfast. Everybody goes to eat at the same time. We'd have formation in the morning, go to breakfast, you go to class. I laugh because my buddies, when they were in school, I think their standard semester was like 15, 17 credits or something like that. My freshman year I had 22.
Holy cow.
And so it was a full day of school because we had to do not only standard college academics, but then we had military classes on top of that. And then following that, you went straight from there out to baseball practice, several hours of baseball practice, come back, go to dinner the whole school goes to dinner at the same time. After that, then you have some type of mandatory study hours or training, and then you go to bed and you do it again. And that lasted for a full year, even through the weekends as a freshman.
So sophomore year got better?
Sophomore year felt like heaven because you
were the
walked,
guy yelling.
You walked out of your room and it was just like, I can walk at an angle. It was just crazy because it was just so different. Being able to just have freedom. And so that was nice. It felt amazing. You felt relaxed. You swore you were never going to yell at anybody. And so it was really neat to experience that transition, but also to see how you had changed, see how you had taken what you'd gone through that first year and applied it to the next year. And then, looking back after you graduate, you just look at each year, things that you learned and took away from the previous year and develop you who you are. So it was pretty neat.
So the Cardinals draft you. What's that conversation like?
So that was interesting. I think we met with almost every team in 2008. We talked to a lot of scouting directors because everybody was saying, what can you do? And quite frankly, we didn't know. That was the hard part is, at the time in 2008, we were right in the middle of a war. Right. And a policy had come out that said that, you can what they call early release, which is you are on active duty for 2 years, and then you extend your reserve time, which meant more likely than not you would do about 5 years in the reserve. So 2 years of active duty and then another 5 years in reserves, where typically when you graduate you do 5 years of active duty, and then you have about 2 or 3 years in reserves after that. And so they had come up with this policy saying the early release, you could do that, but when we started applying for it and talking about it, they were like, actually, we're going to put this on pause because of our time at war, and I understood that, and I was fine with that. I wanted to do both, and I didn't know what that looked like, and I can't make that call. That's got to go up through much higher ups, Department of Defense, and figure out if this does happen, because we didn't even know if it was going to happen yet. It was still trying to figure out what if, and we didn't really get any clear answers. And so that was tough because, as I can understand as an organization, you don't want to waste it, especially back how the draft was then. You don't want to waste a pick and then not be able to do anything with it. And so that's why, to me, it was such an honor that the Cardinals even drafted me, in the 13th round, because we didn't really have a good answer. We knew at minimum I was going to have to wait 2 years, and they just said, "Look, we're gonna put you on the military reserve list, and we just want your rights and see what happens." And so that's why, obviously, the organization means a lot to me, but it really means a lot to me when you understand that they didn't even know if I was going to play, and that was special. So the conversation basically was, "Hey, I want to play. I will sign. I don't know when I'll show up."
Yep. And they were like, "Cool."
And they were basically like,
"Go do your
okay,
thing."
well, best of luck. We'll see you when we see you.
Keep us in the loop.
Yeah, and so 4 years, 8 months, 8 days later, I called John Abamondi at the time, who was in the front office, and thankfully he was former military, so he kind of understood it, which was nice. And I just said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but you drafted me 5 years ago. Can I come to spring training?" And of course, they were like, "Yeah, we'd love to see you." And so I went to spring training. And to say it was embarrassing would be an understatement, because it was like max effort, like 82, 83. I was in great shape. So, I come into the clubhouse and guys were like, "Who is this
you look
guy?"
good.
Yeah. And then you get to the mound and the guys are like, "What in the world is wrong with him?" And so it was frustrating because I knew I could compete.
Yeah.
I knew I could compete with these guys, and being older than them and having the drive and the off-field experience, like, the competitor in me wanted to get out there as quickly as I possibly could. So it was frustrating. I couldn't play at the level that they were playing at, and I knew it was a matter of time that either it was going to catch up or it wasn't. And so we did everything, man. We went to yoga. We did long tossing from the bullpen. I mean, Brent Strom had me doing things that if someone saw it now, they'd be like, "What is this?" I mean, I always give him credit because we even did a drill one time where, you remember, between fields, what was that, 2 and 4 on the backfields? There's a bullpen, and he just set a bucket of balls behind the bullpen and said, "Here's what you're going to do. You're going to throw a ball to the catcher, and then you're going to pick up a ball from behind the mound, and you're going to crow hop and throw it over the batter's eye." Meanwhile, they're taking BP. And so he's just yelling like, "Heads up," and just that was my bullpen for like the first few. But the whole point was he wanted me to stretch out. He wanted me just to kind of get free and get that muscle memory going again. And finally, after a year or so, things started to progress. I still had to battle with, I never had an off season. So I was trying to figure out, how do I keep everything moving and going? And so shoulder would hurt, elbow would hurt, trying to just figure out, because my body was in great shape, my arm was not. And so the first season they said, "Hey, we just want you to go get a season under you and just see what happens." And so my first season I was 27, and the manager, Ollie Marmol, was 26. And so it was such a really cool experience. But, within the first day or so, I went into his office privately and just said, "Hey, look, I know this could be, I don't know what you're thinking about it. I just want you to know how I'm thinking about it, is that you're the manager, I'm the player. Let's have a great time. And if you need to do anything and make me an example, just know that I'll play the part, and we'll talk about it later. We'll cut up about it later." But we had a great time. He was awesome. Our team did great that year. It was funny because I had to relearn how to pitch at 82, 83 as a reliever. In college I was a starter. So it was a complete mind change. It was fun because I had to relearn the game. And just told myself, I'm not going to look at stats. I'm just going to focus on each game, progressively getting better. And what was special is the guys knew how important that was to me.
Yeah.
And I still remember to this day, we were away, and I'd come in after an outing, and the guys were like, had this smirk on their face, and they didn't say anything. They were just waiting for me to get to my locker, because what they had done is they put the chart at my seat, and they knew how important it was for me to hit 90. And that game I hit 90, and they were all behind me just cheering on that I hit 90. The 27-year-old rookie hit 90. And so that meant a lot to me, because they knew what I'd gone through and what I was trying to do. And so it was awesome. And by the end of the year, I had a .8, and I didn't know it, and it was really just neat to realize, like, man, you've done that part. You've relearned how to pitch at 82 to 85. Now as it slowly comes back, and by the end of that year, it was up to 90, 92, and then went to high A and progressed from there. But it was a struggle, man, to get it going again. But I think by first year or so of kind of just getting through those cobwebs and understanding how to pitch and not just throw, was fun yet challenging.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're in the Navy, did anything to keep your arm in shape?
So one of the stories I tell, and it's pretty neat, is I was trying to figure out myself, like, okay, if I can just keep my body in shape, maybe when we pull in, when we get home, like, I'll have an opportunity to throw. That way, I knew that my body wasn't going to break down, but my arm was just what I'm going to have to focus on. Well, I found out that one of the cooks on the ship was from Dominican. And one day I went up to him and just said, hey, you don't have to play baseball, do you? And he's like, oh, come on, Poppy. And I was like, all right, so that means yes. My dad's going to send out a bag of baseballs every so often. If you don't mind, I'd love to go on the flight deck. We'll throw. And he's like, you serious? I was like, yeah, I mean, if you're cool with that. He's like, absolutely. And so I was like, hey, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let it go a little bit. And he's like, Poppy, I'm from Dominican, baby. This is no big deal. And if you've ever met any Dominican that's played baseball, you understand that they love it, and it was an absolute blast. So we got to get really close. We still are still in contact to this day, because I give them a lot of credit that not physically, maybe that wasn't it, but mentally it kept me working towards the end goal. And it was a lot of fun. And man, I threw flat grounds left and right with that guy, and he didn't care. Didn't have a catcher's mitt, and he wore several in the shin. Didn't care. He was having fun, and we had a blast doing that. But really, that's all I could do. And then when we got home, it was at least enough to say, hey, I've been throwing. Mentally, I know I can get there. I'm not where I want to be, but at least I've been doing something.
So when you say flight deck, I need you to paint that picture. Like,
yes.
What do we have around us?
Yeah, so it's not this aircraft carrier that a lot of people I think think about. But I was on the USS Ponce, which is a LPD. It's a landing craft that we could have about 4 helicopters that can land on the back. We could have a really big, if you know what an Osprey is, those can land on the back. It's a really big flight deck. It's probably just long enough to have a good long toss. And so there'd be times when we'd pull in somewhere really close. We'd be flying helicopters off. The ship could also, it was hollow and had a well inside, and so we could sink the ship down 7 feet and shoot out boats from inside the ship, land helicopters, get the Marines off quickly, come back, we'd get out to sea, and then come back in, do the same thing, bring them back on, and leave. And so in between those operations, we'd be out on the flight deck throwing, having a good time.
But you had to get permission for this, obviously.
Yeah, we had to make sure we weren't during flight ops. I don't think the pilots would have liked that, but no, it was a blast. There's a lot of baseballs that are at the bottom of the sea, so because if you missed it, you weren't getting it back. Yeah. And so that was the reason for my dad sending out bags of balls.
Gotcha.
But man, it was fun. Those are some of the best memories I have, though some of the hottest memories I can imagine, because I mean, just standing out there, it was probably 105 to 110 in some places, depending on where we were, plus on top of the flight deck itself, which is all metal. We lost a few pounds just from throwing out there, but we had a blast, and just some of the best memories from my deployments was throwing on the flight deck.
So you go back to your first spring training after, I assume you were in Johnson City.
No, so
Penn League.
Yeah, so went to the Penn League to State College. And just because of my age, they were kind of like, hey, we want to kind of push you a little bit, get you in with some of the college guys. And again, you just don't worry about moving up and down. Just we're going to keep you there. We're telling you you're not moving. Just figure it out first season. So
you figure that out. You come in the next spring training, so they sent you in the high A. So at that point, are we starting to get more consistent in the low to mid 90s?
And so that's the thing. That was probably the struggle, was having not ever had an offseason before.
Yeah.
I come in and I was hurting. I didn't know. All right, is something wrong? Is this normal? Like, what do I feel? What do I think? Like, how do I get through this? And I was trying to talk to some quote unquote veteran guys in the minor leagues to say, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Is this normal? Like, and they were like, dude, this is every spring for all of us. So, like, just get through this and you'll be fine. And so I tried to push through, and the Cardinals, obviously tried to slow me down, just say, look, take your time, no rush on this. And so ended up starting and extended just to kind of figure it out. Then they sent me over to Palm Beach. And this was about 2 to 3 months into the season. And things started to slowly come back. I wasn't pitching great, but I was pitching well enough to be in there. And then they sent me to Double-A. And unbeknownst to me at the time is they sent me to Double-A to release me. I wasn't pitching good enough to stay. I was pitching enough to hold a spot. And at 27 or 28 at this time, it was kind of like, hey, these guys are 2021. What are we doing? And I understood that. So at the time, I didn't know this. So I get to Double-A, and I'll never forget it. We had a bullpen day that me and Randy Neiman, the pitching coach that year, we go out, and I know you've had these before, but they're seldom. You go out, we have a bullpen where the catcher didn't say anything, I didn't say anything, pitching coach didn't say anything. I mean, he's not moving his mitt. We're putting it right where we want. We're doing exactly what we wanted to do during that bullpen, and things just clicked. I mean, the ball was coming out just effortless, great movement, late life. The catcher was just kind of like, dude, this is where's this been? Like, this was great. And Nemo said, hey, let's go in. Let's talk to Schilt. Mike Schilt was the manager. We walked straight into his office, and Nemo's like, Mike, we got to get Mitch in the game tonight. Like, he just figured something out, and this is we've got to get him in there. And so I get in that night, had a great inning, and that was kind of what took off. I mean, and so by the end of that year, in September, guys start getting called up. So they had to fill some positions in AAA. They sent me to AAA. So by year 2, I'm now in AAA, finished the year there. And so at that point, I started thinking, like, am I really in AAA? Like, is this for real, or like what's
finally surrounded with people your age?
Yeah, exactly, and some older actually.
Right.
And so it was awesome because they said, "Hey, coming into next spring, like, be ready." And I'm thinking, like, they can't mean that. Like, 2 years ago, I was in state college and I couldn't throw 84, And so I come into spring and finally having an idea of what to do during the offseason. I came in great shape, pitched really well. Spring of 15. Was one of the last cuts, and I'll never forget Mike Matheny, the manager, comes over and just says, hey, Mitch, are you writing all this down? I was like, huh? He's like, dude, you got to write this down. Like, this, you got to write all this stuff down because this is a great story. And I was like, well, I appreciate that, but I just think of it as like what I'm doing, And he's like, I know, but you need to write it down. He said, because I want you to be ready. And I was like, he must say this to everybody. Like, he doesn't mean this. There's no way. Sure enough, 2 weeks into the season, Peter Borges and his wife were expecting, and we were in Round Rock, Texas, and Schilt asked me to come to the lobby, and I get off the elevator, and he just said, hey, Mitch, remember those times that you tell me on the ship that you're wondering if you'll ever get to play again? And I was like, yeah. He's like, remember the times you thought, is it all worth it? All the rough things you were having to go through, all the struggles. I said, yeah, of course I remember. He said, well, congrats, you did it. You're flying up to D.C. tonight to make your debut. And I about lost it. I didn't know to kiss him on the mouth, hug him, or what to do. And so it was great that, it was I called my dad and my fiance at the time and who's now my wife and told everybody, get a flight. I'll see you in D.C. So it was really cool. My CO, my first ship, was there. Another shipmate of mine was there. I didn't see the field, which was disheartening because, well, it was, I think, Waino, Carlos, and then Garcia, that series, which I was like, well, I'm not going to see the field. So we go to Milwaukee, and fortunately I didn't get called up to the front of the plane on the flight, which would have meant that I was going back. Someone else did, and get to Milwaukee and finally make my debut in Milwaukee, and kind of the rest is history. But it was awesome. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. You can always go back and say, man, I would love to have done this differently, or man, I wish I could have done that. But at the end of the day, the story is what it is, and I'm very proud of it. And like I said, I just took the scenic route.
It's an amazing journey. And I believe there's only 2 in the history, right?
Yeah. So that was something that was really cool to me, is I didn't even know the history. And so one of the writers, and I don't remember now who it was, but told me, they said, Mitch, do you realize what you've done? And I was like, yeah, I went an inning in the third. And he's like, no. Like, he's like, you're the only guy that's done this since 1921 that's come out of the Naval Academy. He said Nemo Gaines, who went to the Naval Academy, as soon as he graduated, went and played for the Washington Senators in 1921 and pitched just a handful of games and then went off to serve. He said, no one's done it since. He said, congratulations. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. You know, that's really cool. And then, you know, and you bring that up, but I think that's one of the coolest things is, I think I was telling you yesterday, one of the coolest gifts that I've received was from someone actually in Cardinals camp that, you know.
Cardinals fantasy camp. Yeah,
Cardinals fantasy camp that got a hold of an autograph from Nemo Gaines and sent it to me as a thank you. And that'll be a precious thing for me and my family for years to come.
What is it?
Just a postcard. And what's really neat is he wrote on there his rank and the year and the date, his name, and you can tell he was up in age just from the signature. But the thing is rated and it's authenticated. Did he buy that? I don't know the story. I don't know the story of how he got it. I'm assuming he bought it.
Yeah.
Because of how it came and the authentication and the rating of the signature. Because it looks impressive. It's pretty neat.
So we're here at the Hall of Fame, and we had a chance to talk to one of the
curators.
Yeah, one of the curators, and we were like, hey, you know, you asked them, like, I'd love to see. Yeah. And so they went back and they said, man, we don't have any. He told me they don't have anything in 3D.
Right.
But they had maybe some articles or some stuff like that.
Right. So they've got some articles. They've got a lot of other really cool, you know, Navy baseball things, jerseys, baseballs, gloves from back in World War II days, which was really neat. And so, you know, that's kind of my thing is baseball is such a rich historied game that people forget. Like the military was really, really big, you know, back in the day between World War II and these guys going off and playing on. Because back in the day, the Army and Navy had their own teams. And so it was really neat to see that dynamic and kind of that mesh between the military and baseball, especially here at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, it was fascinating to hear you talk about it. And then I think you stumped the Hall of Fame. I think they're sitting there thinking, like, we got to figure this out.
I asked him, I was like, so do you know who Nemo Gaines is? He's like, I don't. And I told him, I was like, I know a signature on a postcard is probably not what you're wanting here at the Hall of Fame. I was like, but man, now I'm on a mission. If I can find, you know, anyone who's related to him or anybody that's got anything from that time frame that just has anything to do with him, I want to honor him because, I mean, without him, we wouldn't be talking about it. Right. And to me, that's what's special is like, you know, everybody who plays this game can go back to somebody and say, man, I'm playing this game because of this, or hey, this person is a motivator for me. And once I learned about that, it was just a motivating piece to me, but also an honor to be able to keep his name alive and honor what he had to go through back in those days. I can't fathom.
Yeah.
So, if I can find something, everyone's out there listening, has any connection to the Nemo Gaines or anybody that's connected to him, man, I'd love to know and get something in the Hall of Fame because that would be really cool for them to have a piece of that.
Yeah, that's a remarkable story. Fill people in on what you're doing now. What's keeping you busy now?
Yeah, so now I'm in wealth management, kind of fell into that. You know, side note, I will say it's neat because, you know, I had someone, Harold Reynolds, approach me years ago about some people who were interested in doing a film, and we'll see what happens with that. But because of that, I wanted to, you know, I was like, you know, I never thought about doing anything along those lines, but I thought back about what Mike said, and so I started the process of writing a book, and I said, you know, I want people to know the real story, and I'll do speaking stuff every now and then and I feel like a lot of times, especially nowadays, people just make the assumption that, man, life is beautiful, this or that, and they see things on social media or the Google story, what I like to say, and so instead of just giving people the Google story, I wanted to tell the real story, the struggles I went through, all the things I had to overcome to get to the big leagues. And so we started that process several years ago. It's taken much longer than I wanted it to, but we're really close. I'm hoping to have something by end of this year and try to get it out by spring of next year. But I'm excited to tell the story and hopefully inspire somebody and motivate someone to, maybe it's not baseball, but anything in life that, hey, that seems a little bit far-fetched, but if this guy from, you know, right outside of Atlanta, small high school, can not only get to the Naval Academy but make it to the big leagues, yeah, you can do just about anything.
Mm-hmm. And so home, you got your kids.
Oh yeah, 2 kids, 6 and 8. They're both right now playing all sports. He's done golf, baseball, football, basketball. He's doing it all. My daughter, she's my dancer, my gymnast. She's cheerleader. She's doing it all. And then my wife, we've now been together for, going on 11, 12 years now. Actually, this next month, 12 years. So it's been amazing, and super excited about what we've got going on.
And it's still doing anything with the Navy? Any ties to them?
No, I was in the reserves while I was in the minor leagues. But when we got further on up, it was just too much of a time commitment, and there was a little bit too much that I'd have to go back and forth. And we tried to make it work, and we couldn't. Yeah. And so now I'm officially out. But I get back as often as I can. Matter of fact, I'm going back in another couple of weeks to a football game, and it's always fun to get back and see my second home at the academy.
So now, what do you, if you walk the hallways now, what are you going to do? You can walk backwards if you want.
Well, it's funny, now to even be in Bancroft Hall is like most people can't even get in there, and just people off the street, you're not allowed in there, myself included. Mm-hmm. You have to be escorted through there because it is a dorm. Mm-hmm. Fun fact: it is the largest dormitory in the world. And so it's pretty neat. It's just a historic, beautiful place. And every time you go back there, it's just a cool experience to see it and see the rich history there.
Take your kids back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This next month, they've never been. And so we're super excited because we're taking the kids for the first time, get to show Daddy's old stomping grounds.
That's awesome. Well, Mitch, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for your service. Thanks for everything you do for the organization, the story. Absolutely incredible. Nothing else like it. Of all, we had Larry Walker here last month, and we were talking about the numbers that they said last night. I don't remember them exactly, but 22,700 and something players have ever played Major League Baseball. I believe there's 270 something Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
you're more rare than a Hall of Famer. I mean, there's two of you, and out of that 22,000 people, there's only two of you. Remarkable your service to the country, and then still, I mean, I've been through a bunch of surgeries, so I hear you on the, I at one time had a guy come out and said, hey, I think I'm pretty close, can you put a gun on me? And he said, you're throwing 78, and I'm like, I'm throwing what?
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Yeah.
And you just need more time.
And,
and going back and starting at zero and throwing your first,
you feel like you can't achieve that again.
Yeah. And it just takes so much time to get back. So we went through different in terms of coming back, but I've been there and that coming back trying to compete knowing you're not yourself. And man, a lot of respect for your path there, and then to ultimately make it is a great story. So thanks for joining us on the Chatters Box, and glad you're still part of the family. And by the way, we play you here in a little bit, which I'm not excited about because I heard you're just mashing all over the place. So we'll get.
I'm hurt today though. I think I'm regretting.
Second day is when all the injuries start to happen. But Mitch, thanks for joining us, and that is a wrap on this month from Cooperstown, New York. And you can check out if you're just finding the Chatters Box, you can find any of our previous episodes anywhere you get your podcast or on the Cardinals YouTube channel. Goes back over 3 years now, so we have quite the library that we put together. So if you're enjoying this, there's plenty left to listen to. So we will see you next month, and we are signing out from Cooperstown, New York.